Hey there, it's Linda in Belize. Let's talk about options to get into the Belize City International Airport. There's many different times of the year that are fun to come, but the prices can be variable. Let's look at how we look those up. I already posted a video showing options for travel within Belize. So once you're in, you can go visit Placencia, and there's many options to do that, or San Pedro. There's also other places you might want to see. So check out that video in the description as well. So I am a United Silver member and I have WestJet rewards, but the first place I go to check flights always is Google Flights. So if I put that in the search bar, you can see here's Google Flights. And the reason I like Google Flights is it shows all airlines. And from there, if I found the United price was the best, I would go right into United to book or WestJet, etc. Now, the first thing that I do when I'm in Google Flights is change my currency. Right now, I'm in Belize, so it says Belize currency. In this example, I'm going to search for flights from Calgary, which is in Canada, because we have family that's coming from there to visit Belize once again. And I'm going to then put in BZE, which is the airport code, or so you can see the BZE right here, but it is called the Philip Goldson International Airport. And then I can just do a search. There's some dates that I just had in here, but that doesn't really matter. I'm just going to do the search because then it gives you other options. So here from the 16th of February, I could pick a return flight on a, let's say it's a 1-week trip to the 23rd, just to give you an example. So it tells you here that the cheapest option would be United for $8.99. Now, what are the normal prices from Calgary to Belize City round trip? Well, typically they're about 1,000 Canadian, but we can often get sales for about 600 or 700 Canadian, so under 800. So this isn't too bad of a price, but the connections are terrible. You can see here it's 2 stops, and the non-stop option is very expensive on WestJet right now. And then it lists all the other flight options down below. Now, the great thing about this is that you can also filter. So that's the thing I really love about Google Flights. So let's say I do not like 2 stops. I only want non-stop, or maybe 1 stop, let's say. So what I could do here is say I only want 1 stop or fewer. So now it's going to tell me the cheapest option for these particular dates is $1,290. So a huge difference here. The other thing you could do, say you do not want an overnight. Now this option, +1, means this United flight does have an overnight. So what I do here, now it's not a foolproof way to do it because it doesn't have an option to filter for overnight, but I could say duration. I know that if I'm not flying overnight and I have a connection, it's probably around 10 hours or so to fly. So I'm going to say 12 hours here and see what comes up. So you can see here, oh, there's a midnight flight here, leaving 1 in the morning, getting in at 1:20. So technically that's not an, well, it's obviously an overnight flight. And then you can see here, it gives me the nonstop. But again, very, very expensive for both of these options. So I can leave my filters in and go, okay, I don't want to travel in February. Let's see what else is out there. So you can see when I'm doing 1 stop or fewer, I'm limited to the days I can travel of the week. So Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, they definitely have options. Anything from Monday to Thursday with the 1 stop or fewer under 12 hours is not possible. If I'm flexible, I'll just pick what the cheapest outgoing flight is. In this case, I picked March 8th for a 1-week trip to see what the different airline options are with my filters. So you can see here, March 8th to 15th for a 1-week trip, $864 Canadian with the non-stop departing flight. So that's great. Then we have to check the return flight, and great thing is that the WestJet 1 round trip, this would be the best option for someone coming from Calgary looking for a non-stop flight anytime in February and March as of today. So these prices could change all the time. So that's the other thing to note. Variable pricing on airlines is basically adjust the price based on how booked the flight is. And obviously there's seat sales that come up also. So you can see here, this is the basic fare with WestJet. So you have to pay for your seat selection. There's no changes allowed. Or you could pay more on the Econo 914 where you can make a change with a fee. So anyway, $838 is the cheapest in this particular example for a trip in February or March from Calgary with my filter. So the other thing I want to show is how the Canadian Airlines work in terms of flying to Belize. So with WestJet itself, the service to Belize is actually limited. So you can see here, service to Belize City ends Saturday, May 24th and resumes on Saturday, November 2nd, 2024. So if you want to fly at other times of the year, like in the summertime, you can't really book with WestJet or Air Canada. You would need to go into United or American Airlines, etc., which is why Google Flights helps a lot with planning those trips. So the other thing just to mention from Canada is that when you're flying in the times of the year WestJet flies, Wednesday and Thursday you can fly, but it's always through Toronto. And you'll notice the times, if I just pick an example here, that it requires an overnight in Toronto. So this is why it didn't come up in my Google searches, because it takes 24 hours to get from Calgary on the Wednesday. Whereas if you went on the Friday, of course, that's the date that you can get the non-stop flight, which in this case, the one-way here on this particular date is $4.95. So again, I use Google Flights first, and then if I like the WestJet options because they have non-stop, I would go into WestJet directly to see what kind of prices are available. So I already gave the Canadian example, but obviously lots of my viewers are American. So I'm going to use Houston just as an example. Again, you can pick wherever you're coming from in Google Flights, but you'll see here, Houston to Belize City. I just picked dates coming up right away, just a few days away on February 9th to 16th. And you can see American has a one-stop flight for $5.22, but who wants that when you're flying so close? So the United one is the best as a non-stop option, but it's $708 US. So this is very expensive compared to what you can book normally. So again, if you're trying to plan your trip, just take a look at the calendar and see the different price points that are out there. So you can see here some sales on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for $388 throughout February and March, really. So if I just pick an example, I'm going to pick March 20th to 27th because I'm actually hosting my next Belize tour then. So let's see what the total price is. So you can see here on United, non-stop flights to and from Houston are $388 versus February right now, which was at $708. So it's a huge difference. And that's why I tell people always to look far in advance, because the last minute flights, in this case from Houston, are actually more expensive than flights next month. So last minute, a lot of people think it's cheaper. Not always the case, as we're showing here. The other thing you could do here, let's say you wanted to come in March, but it was a little bit expensive and you wanted to track the prices. You could actually do this to say, I want to track prices, and it says I'm going to get emails when the price changes from March 20th to 27th. So that's a great option here in Google Flights if you know you want to book at a certain time, but it's too expensive. In this case, maybe I just want to track when this price goes up so I can see what it does. So on February 4th, the price was $388, but the next day it went up to $468. So just one day later, the sale was gone. That's why I tell people not to wait. Now, what about flying from Belize City into another part of Belize? This you can also check on Google Flights. So let's say I want to fly to Placencia on the 9th, returning to Belize City on the 16th. You can see here the best departing flights. There's many options for the same price of $258 US. There's even more down here. But there's two local airlines. So the first one is Tropic Air that you can see here. And if you keep scrolling, you'll see there's also Maya Island Air. And Tropic Air says it's 30 minutes, Maya Air says 25 minutes, but the price is $304 here. So in this case, for Placencia, Tropic Air is the more affordable option. And that's not always the case, so you typically want to check both, and that's why Google Flights is kind of handy. And the other thing I want to mention is I am a Tropic Air agent, so if you need help booking your flights, definitely reach out to me. Now, a lot of the people coming into Belize also go to San Pedro, so I just thought I might as well show this as well to show you the price. So you can see it's cheaper than Placencia because it's a lot quicker. It's about half the time to get from Belize City to San Pedro, but it's still an expensive flight at $174 US. And again, many different options just like Placencia. And Maya Air, you can see both the airlines here as well. If you need help booking your flights or have any questions about Belize, make sure you reach out to me. And if you want to check out different parts of the country, check out our next tour coming up in March. Hope to see you soon in Belize.